Hey, what's going on guys? Tanmay here for Telusco Learnings and welcome back to another video tutorial under JavaScript for beginners, that is the jQuery part, especially the DOM manipulations part. So this is sort of like the part 3 under DOM manipulations, and we've been going through different jQuery inbuilt methods which perform DOM manipulations. So if you have missed the previous two videos, do check them out because we've discussed some other methods in those videos and this is sort of like the continuation of those videos. So with that being said, let's get started. So as you can see on the screen, we have a little bit of code already written. You can pause the video and type it out, but this is something which we've been doing in the previous couple of videos also. We have the body, we have 6 different buttons with 6 different names: append, after, prepend, before, remove and empty, which are basically the jQuery inbuilt methods which are going to be helping us performing DOM manipulations. So a little bit theory about them is written over here. We have a division, we have a paragraph with its respective ID and class. We also have an external CSS file which is giving the styling to this division with a border of 2 pixels and then a little bit of margin and padding. Lastly, we also have our jQuery.js file being loaded over here at the end of the HTML document after the body. And then we have our script tag inside which we have ready method or ready function, inside which we will be writing the jQuery code. Okay, so these are the 6 methods that are going to be performing different DOM manipulations. So let's start off with the first one, that is the append method. So the append method inserts content at the end of the selected items, okay, or elements. So what this helps us achieve is, let's say you want to add a little bit of text after a particular element on the HTML document. So let's say you want to add one more paragraph after this paragraph, or you want to add one more paragraph after this division. So depending upon where exactly you want to add it, you'll be using the append method and you'll be selecting that particular element. So let's do the append method first. So we have to first use the click event of this button. So you have to access that button, right? So let's do that. I'm gonna say $. Inside this, I'm gonna pass the ID of the button, which is btn1. So this is the ID and I'm using the ID selector, so I have to use the hash. I'm gonna say .click, that's the click event, and inside this I'm gonna say function, opening and closing round brackets of the function, opening and closing curly braces of the function. Here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this division. Okay, so the division ID is div1. So let's select that. So I'm going to use the selector again. Here I'm going to say div1 because that's the division ID. And I'm going to say append. Okay, so what I want to append is another paragraph. So I just have to write the paragraph as a parameter over here. So I'm going to say p, close the p tag, and I'm going to say this is second para. By the way, this is the first one, so let me change that. Okay, so I'm gonna say this is second para in first division, and let's see how this works. Okay, I'm gonna click on append over here, and there you go. You can see the paragraph was added inside the division, but it is at the end. So that's what append does. Append inserts content at the end of the selected element. So which element did we select? We selected the division, right? So the paragraph or whatever thing that we are wanting to add was added inside the division at the end. So now let's see what the after method would do. Let me just read it out. Inserts content after the selected element. So what we'll do is we'll quickly copy this entire click event and we'll just change the button ID to 2 because the after button ID is btn2. So we'll access its click event, and now what we'll do is we'll just change this to after. Okay, now let's see what is the difference. First I'm going to click on append, and you can see the paragraph was added inside the division. So now I'm going to click on after, and now you can see that the paragraph was added, but it was added outside the division. So that is what is the difference between append and after. So after inserts the content after the selected element, and append inserts the content whatever you want to insert at the end of the selected element. So that's the very important difference that you need to know. Now let's see prepend and before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is again copy this entire code, paste it over here, and change the button ID to 3. So the button ID 3 is for prepend, right? So let's change the code also. So I'm going to say prepend over here. Now let's see how prepend works. So when I click on prepend, the paragraph got added inside the division, but it got added at the very first, that is before this initial paragraph. So what prepend does is it inserts content at the beginning of the selected element rather than at the end of the selected element. Okay, so that's the difference between prepend and append. And similar to that, we have before. So let me just copy this entire code again. Let's just change the ID to btn4, which is for before. So I'm gonna change the code over here to before. Okay, now let's click on before. Let's first click on prepend. So prepend adds content to the selected element but at the very start. So it adds inside that same element, and when I click on before, you can see that the paragraph got added before that entire division, because we selected the division and we said before, so the content was added before that division, so on top of it at the very beginning. So just to actually give you all differences between all the four, let me just refresh this. Append is adding the content inside that same element which is selected but at the very end. Prepend is adding the same content in the same selected element but at the very start. After is adding content after the selected element, and before is adding content before the selected element. So pretty much makes sense, right? So these four things are done. Let's see how you can remove all this. Okay, so now this is adding some content, adding some HTML elements using jQuery methods. But what if you want to remove them? You can also do that by two methods, which are remove and empty. Okay, so let's see how these work. I'm gonna copy again the code for this, paste it 2 times, and change the IDs to btn5 and btn6. So btn5 is remove. Okay, let me just add a comment over here. This is for remove and this is for empty. So remove, as the name suggests, removes the entire element which is selected. Okay, so what I can do is I can just call remove over here. I don't need to pass any parameters. We are not actually changing anything, we are completely removing it out, right? So now what it will happen is, when I click on remove, this entire division will be removed because we've selected the division. If I click, you can see the entire division being gone. Alright, similar to that we have empty, but what empty does is empty removes the content inside the selected element. So let me just change the code over here. I'm gonna say empty. Now if I click on empty, the division is gonna be there because we've selected the division, but whatever inside the division is there is going to be cleared out. So if I click on this, the paragraph or whatever content was there, it got removed out, but you can see the border is left out, which means that the division is still there. Okay, so that's the difference between remove and empty. Now a little bit of variation that you can do with remove is you can pass in parameters, as in you can pass in some specific content that you want to remove. Okay, so let me just copy and paste this over here. And what I'm trying to say is, let's say you want to remove a particular paragraph which has a particular class. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just copy this and paste it over here, and I'm gonna give it an ID of 2, and I'm gonna change the class as p2 class. Okay, you don't need any kind of value. I'm gonna say this is second paragraph in the first division. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to remove only this second paragraph. So obviously you cannot use empty, right? Empty will completely remove everything inside the division, and if you remove the entire division will be gone. So you want to specifically remove only one particular paragraph. So coming down to the code, what you can do is, instead of using the division ID, what you can do is you can select the paragraph, but you want to remove only one particular paragraph, right? So you can pass the ID of the paragraph. So you can say hash p2, and now if I click on remove, you can see that particular paragraph was removed. Okay, so this is something that you can do. These are certain variations that you can perform with the remove method. Also, you can also pass multiple IDs or multiple paragraphs. So what you can do is, let's say you want to remove both the paragraphs. Let's say you have multiple paragraphs, but you want to only remove these two. So these two have unique IDs, right? So I can pass two IDs. So I can say comma, I can say hash p1. And now what will happen is, if I click on remove, both these paragraphs will be removed because both these IDs of both paragraphs have been passed over here. So if I click on remove, you can see both the paragraphs got removed. Similarly, you can also pass their classes. So the class is p1 class and p2 class using the dot operator. So I can say dot p1 class, and here I can say dot p2 class, and it will work the same, and it will remove all the paragraphs because we've selected the paragraphs, but the ID of the paragraph should be this or this. So if I click on remove, you can see both the paragraphs are removed. So this is one variation that you can do with the remove method. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. In this video we went through 6 different methods. The first 4 were when we want to add certain content depending upon where you want to add it and how you want to add it. And lastly, we also saw 2 methods which were used to remove content from the HTML document, remove HTML elements itself. That is the remove method and empty method. So that's it for this video guys. If you like this video, do share it with your friends. Like this video, let me know